Oh my God, you guys, come in, sit down, and shut the door. They are saying Diddy is melting down about the documentary and his appeal, and they are saying that 50 Cent was way more diabolical than anyone ever thought. Diddy spent 30 years controlling the media, and now the media is controlling him in 14 languages with subtitles and Rotten Tomato scores. This is the man who thought he could PR his way through a justice system like it was a bad boy press tour. Baby. And get this, it kind of did work in court. We saw the documentary. We saw those starstruck jurors. We saw it, right? But here's the thing. When it comes to appeals, this is not Hot 97. This is not a sit down with Angie Martinez. This is not, let me clear my name. This is a federal appeals court. And judges in the federal appeals court, Second Circuit, one of the most powerful, do not care how iconic you were in 1999. What Diddy thought was happening, I'll appeal, my lawyers are going to cook up something good, right? And the system will reset. But here's what's actually happening. Every judge involved in his appeal, and appeals are usually, I think, 3 judges on a panel. You don't go in front of one judge. It's like a panel, right? Like the Hunger Games, right? Anyway, they said every judge involved with this may be thinking, please don't let my name end up in part 2. Because here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Appeals aren't won by being right. They're won by being safe to help. And Sean Combs is currently unsafe, radioactive, and one bad decision away from a law school cautionary tale. This explains why Diddy is so mad at the documentary, the media, the jury, the judge, the blogs, and probably Wi-Fi in general. You know, he probably in that jail cell like, don't look! He probably ripping the cords out of all the flat screen TVs. You think they talking about what's going on in jail, or you think Diddy is just like, they just acting like they didn't see it? I really want to know. Anyway, right? Because the one thing Diddy has never handled well is losing control of the narrative. And baby, that narrative has left the building. Okay, so let me be clear about how this works, because there's a lot of confusion online about Diddy, his appeal chances, and also why he is allegedly melting down. Okay, now it's true. The Netflix documentary Sean Combs' The Reckoning cannot legally decide a federal appeal. All right, it's true. Netflix is not the Second Circuit. The appellate judges are not retrying Diddy's case based on vibes or public opinion. Federal appeals out of the Southern District of New York go to the Second Circuit, and those judges review legal errors only, not facts, not motions, not headlines. It's 3 of them on an appellate. So it's not even 1 judge, it's 3 judges, right? That part is true. But here's the part that Diddy's people are freaking out about, and the part they want to leave out. Appeals on the Second Circuit involve judicial discretion, and that discretion is exercised by human beings, federal judges with careers, reputation, and written opinions that live forever. And the documentary didn't help Diddy where it actually matters, because while judges won't cite a documentary, they will absolutely consider how the case will age, whether intervening looks like correcting injustice or protecting power, and whether reversing a verdict will embarrass the court later. What the documentary did was strip Diddy of the benefit of the doubt. It reframed him from a defendant claiming a legal error into a symbol of a long-running pattern, a master manipulator that played in everybody's faces. And once that happens, appellate judges become far less willing to stretch, reinterpret, or rescue. That's why Diddy is angry. That's why people say that Diddy is freaking out. Not because the documentary changed the law, but because it changed how dangerous it is for anyone to help him. And today, we're going to break down exactly that, how that plays out in the Second Circuit step by step, okay? Let's get into this. Okay, the first thing is appeals are not retrials. They're permission slips. Here's something Diddy was banking on, and this is important. Appeal courts do not relitigate facts. They don't ask, did he do it? They ask, was there a legal or procedural error? Was it serious enough to undermine justice? And does correcting it preserve the integrity of the court? Which means an appeal is not, it's not a right in the emotional sense. It's a request that says, Judge, I need you to step in intervene, and take responsibility for disturbing the verdict. And judges do that only when they feel morally, legally, and institutionally comfortable doing so. The documentary made that comfort evaporate. Get this. The 50 Cent's documentary did not add evidence. It added context. And when you are a master manipulator like Diddy, who once again played in everybody's faces and manipulated the hell out of everyone, in my opinion, context is not something you want. This is often where people get it wrong. Diddy keeps acting like the documentary is trial by media. No. It's trial by pattern. The documentary didn't introduce new allegations out of thin air. It stitched together decades of public record behavior, cooperation, power dynamics, and silencing tactics. And that matters because appeal judges don't like cases that look like, oops, one bad moment. They are terrified. With a capital T, they are terrified of cases that look like, oh, we missed something systematic. Because if they reverse or soften Diddy's conviction now, and more comes out later, such as the Keith D trial, more comes out later with victims, more comes out later with Diddy acting a plumb fool and like just doing more mess later. Well, maybe that ruling ages like milk. And Diddy's team and Diddy are melting down, according to sources, because they know more than anyone judges care deeply about decisions that survive time. And that documentary, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, turned Diddy from a defendant into a historical liability. And this is where 50 Cent enters the chat. Now let's talk about 50 Cent, or as Diddy likes to refer to him, that damn Curtis Jackson, because this is where things get interesting. 50 Cent didn't just troll Sean Combs for laughs. That's the surface read. But if you zoom out, this was strategic poisoning of the well. 50 didn't need to prove anything. He didn't need to litigate. All he did was keep the conversation alive, keep pressure on the narrative, and keep reminding the public and the industry that this wasn't going away. And here's the part nobody says out loud. Judges always read the room. They don't scroll Instagram for legal analysis, admittedly, but they absolutely know when a defendant has become radioactive, the cultural consensus has shifted, and intervention would look like protection, not justice. 50 Cent helped make sure this case stayed socially loud and morally expensive. That matters more than people want to admit. Now, you could just put the blame back on Diddy and say, you just miscalculated the judges. Again, there's lots of ways that Diddy actually messed up. Diddy thought this was still the old game. Charm the system, flood the media, posture power, and intimidate silence. Now that playbook worked when judges saw him as a powerful man who might be unfairly targeted. It completely collapses when judges start seeing a powerful man who avoided accountability for far too long, especially in the Southern District of New York and the Second Circuit, where reputations matter and reversals are scrutinized. Judges don't want to be remembered as the panel that saved Diddy. Don't forget, what is it? Second Circuit, appellate. It's a panel of judges, not just one judge. They don't want to be remembered as the panel that saved Diddy. And the documentary made that outcome professionally dangerous. Now let's talk about Judge Aaron, because Sean Diddy Combs did. Sean Combs' team keeps hinting that Judge Aaron was unfair, the process was biased, the court was hostile. But here's the problem with that argument. The documentary reframes the entire dynamic. Instead of the judge mishandled a difficult defendant, it now looks like the defendant thought he could manage the judge like he managed everyone else. And judges hate that. The moment a defendant appears to believe a court is another PR obstacle, rulings are negotiable, and power applies in the courtroom, judicial sympathy dies. The documentary makes it very easy to believe that Diddy tried to control the narrative, influence perception, and still expected institutional deference. And that makes any appeal claiming unfair treatment, baby, it makes it ring hollow. And get this, the jury argument is now, thanks to that documentary, one of his weakest arguments by far. Now let's address those damn jurors. Diddy's camp is floating juror bias, juror dishonesty, unfair deliberations. But here's the fatal flaw. If jurors were biased, they were biased in his favor. They were fans. They were fanned out. Literally, people who condoned his behavior. People who admired his image. Remember, jury, what is it? The girl, ponytail? I wasn't a fan of Sean Diddy Combs. I was just a fan of everything he laid his hands on. You know, we was nodding, we was communicating. And that other uncle, that Southeast Indian uncle that was condoning abuse, in my opinion, yeah, baby, they condoned Diddy's behavior and they seemed like they admired the image. You don't get to say, the jury was unfair to me, when the jury included people inclined to protect you. That argument doesn't say miscarriage of justice. It says, even my supporters couldn't ignore this. And that is devastating on appeal, because appeal courts ask, was the verdict unreliable? And here, the answer looks like, if anything, it overcame bias. That's not grounds for relief. That's reinforcement. And another thing, why 50 Cent's documentary crushes Diddy's appeals prejudice claims. Well, you can make different claims. He made a claim of prejudice, right? Here's another quiet killer. If Diddy argues there was excessive publicity, there was a tainted jury pool, there was media contamination, the documentary actually weakens that claim. Why? Because it shows the story is bigger than one jury, bigger than one city, and bigger than one verdict. Public awareness didn't come from leaks in tabloids. It came from Diddy's own team, Diddy's own liabilities. Remember why Diddy was doing all that? There was a gag order on the case, if I'm not mistaken. Baby, the documentary weakened all the claims. Public awareness, literally, it wasn't the leaks or the tabloids. It came from patterns, which means judges can easily say this outcome wasn't driven by hype. It was driven by evidence. That closes another appeal door. And don't forget, and I can't say this enough, no one likes it, but especially not judges. Judges, federal judges, appellate judges do not like media manipulators crying media bias. Now, this is the part that's almost funny. Diddy spent decades shaping narratives, suppressing stories, intimidating coverage, weaponizing silence. And now, the media isn't listening. He wants protection from it. Judges notice hypocrisy, especially when it touches the integrity of the court. A defendant who treated the media like a tool, suddenly asking for mercy from publicity, looks unserious and manipulative. That doesn't inspire appellate courage. Now, listen, it can be said that Diddy is very, very, people say that he's not angry, but he's incredibly, he's flustered. He's worried, okay? But here's why he's really angry. Diddy isn't mad because a documentary exists. I believe he's mad because it did 3 irreversible things. It eliminated possible deniability, okay? It raised the reputational cost of helping him. And it locked judges into a historical record they can't ignore. His appeal didn't legally disappear, but it became politically risky, institutionally uncomfortable, and professionally dangerous. And powerful men hate one thing more than prison. They hate losing control. And baby, Diddy just completely lost control, thanks to Vanessa, Alexandria, and Diddy. Baby, now, again, some people feel sorry for Diddy. We see the Diddy brigade out there fighting for their king demon. A lot of people that we actually respect are out here making fools of themselves and ruining their legacies. But I will say this is full circle karma, okay? Because at the end of the day, why is Diddy so mad? The media war that he waged against me and other people finally came home. Let's close with the irony. Diddy tried to run a media war against Cassie, against bloggers, against the media, against truth. He thought he could bury the story, dominate the narrative. He thought he could outlast the truth. And instead, he became the documentary. The same media tactics he used to silence others now operate without his permission. The same pressure he applied is now what? It's now global, permanent, and uncontrollable. This isn't cancellation. It's reputational foreclosure, baby. No edits, no spin, no appeal-friendly silence. Baby, the bottom line is Diddy didn't lose his appeal because of Netflix. And technically he hasn't lost it, but we are looking forward to the day where he does. I think I actually might cover the appeal. Diddy lost his appeal because judges don't want to be on the wrong side of history. Juror arguments collapse under scrutiny. And the media environment he once controlled, well, baby, it now exposes him. The documentary didn't decide the appeal, decided how expensive it would be for anyone to help him. And that's why he's spiraling. Baby, listen, what y'all think? I'd love to see it. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I will update you as soon as I see, but something tells me, I wonder if Diddy gonna be visited by the ghost of Christmas past, future, or present in that prison. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.